Waves of destiny. Questions. As we burst through the surface of the water, the afternoon sun momentarily blinded me with its glaring brightness. Kweku wasted no time. His face, etched with urgency and glistening with droplets of seawater, reflected his determination. He gently but hurriedly guided me to the shore, his strong hands steadying my trembling body. I was coughing, struggling to remember how to breathe on land, the salty taste of the sea filling my mouth and nostrils. "Stay here," he said, his voice tense yet tender. "Give me a moment, Amma." Before I could protest, he dove back into the sea, his powerful form slicing through the water with effortless grace. Panic welled up inside me. My heart pounded and my hands shook. What was happening down there? I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. Without thinking, I sprinted back into the sea, the cool waves crashing against my legs. I plunged into the water, trying to dive after him, but as soon as I submerged, the realization hit me like a wave. I could no longer breathe underwater. The bitter, salty taste of the sea burned my throat as I came up coughing and sputtering, the salt stinging my eyes and blurring my vision. Moments later, Kweku reemerged, his daughter cradled securely in his arms. He swam to me, his eyes filled with a mix of urgency and tenderness. "Please, take care of our daughter," he said, placing the baby in my arms. "I promise I'll return as quickly as I can. I'm not yet finished with my brother." "What? No!" The thought of Kweku facing off again alone was unbearable. "Kweku, wait!" I protested, fear lacing my voice. "What's happening? Please don't go." "I have to," he replied, his voice firm but gentle. "Trust me, Amma. I'll be back soon." With one last, lingering look, he vanished beneath the waves, his form blending seamlessly with the ocean in a display of grace and power. I stood there, holding the baby, feeling a mix of fear and helplessness wash over me. The soft cooing of the baby in my arms contrasted sharply with the turmoil in my heart as I struggled to hold on to the hope that Kweku would be okay. Realizing there was nothing more I could do, I clutched the baby close and rushed back to my house. The warm breeze from the sea tousled my dripping hair, and the gritty sand clung to my wet feet. Relief washed over me when I saw that my parents' cars weren't in the driveway. They weren't home from work yet, and shouldn't be till much later. I quickly placed the baby in the pool, her small form floating gently in the shimmering water. The delicate green and gold scales of her tail caught the light, creating a soft, iridescent glow. Droplets of water clung to her soft, woolly hair like diamonds flashing in the sunlight. Delicate ripples formed around her as she turned back to me, her large, curious brown eyes reflecting a myriad of colors. Her tiny fingers reached out to grasp me, while her small voice fussed. I grasped one small hand, feeling the cool, smooth texture of her skin, sliding my own gently across it. "I'll be right back, it's okay," I murmured, trying to soothe her. Fighting the tug in my heart, knowing I had to prepare for her safety first, I then ran inside, my wet footsteps slapping on the concrete floor. The cool air against my damp skin made me shiver for a moment. I hurried to fill the bathtub, the sound of the rushing water mingling with the pounding of my heart. The scent of the ocean still clung to me, mixing with the faint smell of lavender soap in my bathroom. Once I returned to the pool, she swam swiftly to me. I carefully scooped her up, her small body cool and smooth in my arms, fluttering softly against me. Holding her close, I carried her up the stairs to my room. As I glanced down at her, a gentle smile broke across my lips when I caught her smiling up at me, her eyes bright with satisfaction at being in my arms. The bathtub enveloped her delicate form as I gently placed her into the water, watching her relax with a soft sigh. With her settled in the tub, giggling up at me, I stood there for a moment, trying to steady my breathing. I then knelt to gently stroke her cheek, feeling a moment of calm. Next, I hurriedly dried off and changed, the events that had just unfolded under the sea swirling in my mind like a storm. Moving quickly to the window, I anxiously watched the sea, hoping for any sign of Kweku's return. Dax's eyes, dark with jealousy and burning with desire, haunted my every thought. His invasive thoughts echoed in my mind, each one more chilling than the last. The way he looked at my legs, my skin, my eyes, it was as if he was seeing a rare prize, something to claim and possess, not a person. The realization that he would take me by force if given the chance was blood-curdling, made even more terrifying by the fact that these thoughts were never meant for me to hear. Worse still, Kweku had explained that such thoughts came straight from the heart. Why did Dax want me so badly? His disdain for what he called land dwellers was evident in every sneer, every condescending remark. I remembered him scoffing about how we washed our germs off in their sea, his contempt seeping through his words, his sudden fierce desire for me, and his deep-seated hatred for everything I represented was baffling and terrifying. Dax possessed a beguiling beauty nearly on par with Kweku's, if it weren't for the wicked aura that hinted at dark deeds and unclear limits. His handsome face and sculpted form could almost be mesmerizing, but the malevolence that radiated from him made my blood run cold. Danger radiated from his skin and beamed from his eyes. Instinctively, I was afraid. The moment he realized I could hear his thoughts paralyzed me with fear. Was he really going to hurt me right then and there? Kweku clearly believed so. His reaction had been equally shocking. The fury in his eyes, the raw power as he threw Dax through the walls. It was like nothing I had ever witnessed. His power was unbelievable, and he used it against his own brother. Even though Dax hadn't touched me, Kweku hadn't hesitated. Had he heard what Dax was thinking? He must have. I couldn't help but compare Dax's sinister demeanor to Kweku's protective nature. How could two brothers be so different? What had happened in their past to create such a rift? Why did Dax despise land dwellers so intensely? What personal vendetta fueled his hatred? The thought of knowing more about Dax's past was disturbing me. I hadn't expected to hear his heart. How was that even possible? Kweku had said he could only hear the hearts of those close to him. I had never met Dax before in my life, so why could I hear his thoughts? Was it because he was Kweku's brother? But then, why hadn't I heard Queen Makita's heart? My mind reeled with a bazillion questions that were killing me. Where was Kweku now? What was happening beneath the waves? Was he all right? The uncertainty gnawed at me, each unanswered question adding to the weight on my heart. As I gazed out at the sea, the rhythmic sound of the waves offered no comfort. My thoughts kept drifting back through the shocking revelations of the past hours. Kweku is a prince, the prince of all the sea and underwater life, and his daughter. I felt a sudden pang of guilt as I recalled how I had once referred to her as the thing. The look on Kweku's face and his firm declaration about his daughter being special now made perfect sense. Of course, she was special. She was a princess. I paced anxiously between the bathroom and the window, cradling the baby in my arms at intervals. By now, I had a fairly good sense of how long she could safely be out of the water, and she seemed to love the view from my bedroom window. Each time I brought her to the window, she laughed and stretched her tiny hands up as if to catch the sky. As night fell, I watched my parents' cars pull into the driveway, one after the other. I carefully placed the baby back into the bathtub and closed the bathroom door just as I heard footsteps coming up the stairs. My mother entered my room, her face etched with concern. While I was happy to see her, her question sent an icy rush of panic through my veins. "How's the studying going, Amma?" she asked, sitting down on the bed beside me. "It's fine, Mom." This lying thing had become a nasty habit. I was trying to sound normal despite the chaos swirling inside my mind. I had completely forgotten. My exams were tomorrow. My mother smiled. "Amma, I know these exams seem overwhelming, but remember why you're doing this. You've worked so hard to get here, and soon you'll be starting college, pursuing the career you've always dreamed of. This is the path to a prosperous life, just like your father and I have built. We believe in you. I still say you should study abroad in the U.S., then come back to Ghana after." Sensing my unease, my mother gently took my hand and smiled. She picked at the knots in my hair, noticing that I had been out swimming. "What a mess. Have you been to the bottom of the ocean?" she asked jokingly, with no clue how spot on she was. "Be sure to wash this, Amma, and I'll help you comb it out if you like." Her touch, though slight, was incredibly comforting. It felt like her love was in her fingertips, transferring through my hair and into my body. In that moment, the chaos in my mind melted away. My mother was incredible, her presence soothing. Wow, I thought. I never really noticed with such clarity how much a mother's presence meant just by being there. Perhaps it was because now I was trying to be one myself. I wondered if I had come anywhere close to making the baby feel this level of comfort, relief, and love. Wanting more, I hugged her. She was so warm and smelled so good. It surprised her at first, but she almost immediately returned the hug. It felt so safe there in her arms, the day's events melting away. Then she squeezed me so tight I had to squeal. She chuckled and said with a playful growl, "I could eat you up." "Oh my God, Mom, I'm not 6. Stop being so embarrassing," I laughed. She pulled back, then gently grasped my chin, her smile fading but her tenderness lingering. "What are you hiding from me, Amma?" she asked softly. My heart skipped a beat at the sudden question. "A mother always knows," she continued, answering the question in my eyes. "You don't sleepwalk, sweetheart, and you also don't make messes. What really happened the other night? What's going on with you?" Oh, I realized this was the talk. Even after hours had passed, she hadn't forgotten. So much for hoping she had. Now that it was happening, what exactly was I going to say? I couldn't bear to lie to her, especially not this up close and personal. Moreover, with her looking at me like this, it only amplified how much keeping this secret was killing me, especially after the immense things that happened today. My first kiss, Kweku, his daughter, Queen Makita, Dax. I should have taken a chance earlier and jumped on her joke about the bottom of the ocean. Still, this was my mom we were talking about. She'd never believe it. Supernatural impossibilities were just that. Impossible. Then there was the boys' part and my first kiss. Telling her about my first kiss with Kweku, a merman, would be like trying to convince her I met a unicorn while skipping school. Both ideas could not exist, let alone together, so I went straight for it. "Do you believe in mermaids?" The look on her face said it all. Her eyes drifted to the ceiling as she struggled to recall what a mermaid was, and then tried to understand why on earth I had even asked. That was all the answer I needed, yet I trudged on. "What if I told you I met one?" Her eyes narrowed, her brows furrowed, and she blinked as she tried to comprehend. "Did you eat today?" she asked. I scoffed. My mother had gone into equating my question with hunger. It was what she did every time I fussed as a child, like she thought a good feeding would solve everything. Still, I couldn't remember it not working since I was a child at the time. This particular situation, though, didn't fit. Her wise and tender words provided a brief respite from my anxiety. "You've always been dedicated and capable. I know you might be nervous about your exams, but just take a deep breath and focus on what you know. You've got this, Amma, and no matter what happens, we'll be proud of you." Mom kissed my forehead, her warmth seeping into my skin. "Correct," said my father, sticking his head into the room with a big smile as he walked in. "We're here for you. You need to focus on your exams," he said, giving me another kiss on the forehead before they left my room with a synchronized goodnight. While my parents had been in the room, I'd hoped the baby would stay quiet so as not to draw their attention, but the unusual silence made me curious. I went back to the bathroom door, opening it quickly and quietly. To my surprise, I found the baby sitting there contentedly in the tub, playing with her tail. As soon as she saw me, her big eyes lit up, and she laughed. I couldn't help but laugh along with her. "How'd you know to be so quiet?" I asked, scooping her up. The dripping baby wrapped her tiny arms around me, hugging me as tightly as she could manage. I hugged her back, feeling a wave of unexpected warmth. "How'd you know I needed this hug?" "Who's the mother here anyway?" I whispered, a soft smile spreading across my face. I held her close for a moment, savoring the comfort and warmth she provided. "I need just a couple of hours to study, but I'll be right here. I whispered to her. I haven't finished studying, and I'm so scared right now since I have exams tomorrow. I have some expectations to meet. I left the bathroom door open so I could keep an eye on her while I sat at my desk, grabbing my books and settling in to study. But I couldn't retain any information. Too much was swirling in my mind. I tried to convince myself not to worry. Kweku had lived in the ocean all this time and had been fine. Maybe he and Dax had fought tons of times, and I just happened to see them fighting for the first time. Kweku seemed to be the stronger of the two, so I shouldn't worry. He would be fine. I attempted to cram information into my head, but kept glancing at the window, watching the ocean in the night. Suddenly, something Queen Makita had said to me came back to mind. She had said that I was able to bridge their worlds, that I was special, and that I, along with the baby, could shape their future. The weight of her words pressed on my thoughts, making it even harder to concentrate. Special? Me? The baby started to fuss, her soft cries tugging at my heart. I got up to comfort her, asking, "What's wrong? Do you miss your dad?" But she wouldn't stop crying despite me picking her up and attempting to soothe her. Panic began to set in. I didn't want her crying too loudly, or my parents might hear. What was wrong with her? What did she want? What should I do? Think Amma? What would Mom do? Then it hit me. She was hungry. Horror washed over me as I realized I hadn't fed her this whole time. She must be starving. I gently placed her back in the tub. This was the longest time I'd ever had her to myself, and I had completely forgotten to feed her. What did mermaid babies even eat? I panicked as her cries grew louder. Afraid my parents would hear, I closed the bathroom door and turned on the radio, cranking up the music to mask the sound, and dashed downstairs. In the kitchen, I grabbed the softest, most baby-appropriate food I could find and some milk, but the baby would have none of it. Oh God, I panicked, remembering how my friend Afia had told me her goldfish died after she forgot to feed it for a day. I ran back to the fridge, frantically searching for something else. "Please don't be like a goldfish. Please don't be like a goldfish," I muttered, my hands darting across different foods. I rushed back to the bathroom, but the baby still wouldn't eat. Grabbing my head in desperation, I tried to calm myself. "Kweku," I whispered his name desperately into the night, feeling utterly helpless. Looking out the window, I thought I saw a figure. Relief and desperation mixed as I dashed outside, hoping it was him. But as I approached the shore, I saw no one. "Kweku," I whispered. His rock was empty. A soft sound from the water made me turn excitedly, but that excitement vanished once I realized it wasn't Kweku. It was Marina. She was here? Why? Marina's head broke the surface, her black dreadlocks gleaming in the moonlight. Her dark, wet face glistened like glass. Her brown eyes, luminous in the pale glow of the moon, watched me with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. I froze, stunned by her surreal beauty above the water. The night was serene, the waves gently lapping against the shore. Her movements were subtle and graceful in the water as she offered something to me with an outstretched hand, saying nothing, the silence of the night echoing the soft drip of water from her hand. Slowly stepping closer from the shore into the water, I asked, "What's this?" I took it. It was a conch shell filled with, "Is this seaweed?" "Our prince commanded me to give it to you. It's for the young princess." "Princess?" I looked at her, confused. Annoyance and disbelief flashed across her surreal face. "Oh, you mean the baby," I corrected quickly. Her shock and disbelief deepened. "Oh, sorry, the princess? Yes, the young princess. I just learned about that today and am still getting used to it. Sorry. Of course the prince. Would you believe Kweku didn't tell me he was a prince?" I said heartily in an attempt to lighten the mood. Marina remained serious, not even the slightest twitch to her expression. She was here giving me this, but clearly still didn't like me one bit, I noticed. "What am I supposed to do with this?" I asked, holding up the seaweed. Marina's expression grew more serious with each word she spoke. "Our prince has heard her cries. Make sure she eats it all," she instructed, her tone leaving no room for argument. Eat? That's what she eats? Seaweed? I repeated in disbelief. Marina's impatient glare made her thoughts clear. I nodded, understanding her unspoken insistence. Thank you, I said softly, feeling a wave of relief wash over me. At least now I knew what to feed the baby. How dare you? Marina snapped, her expression darkening. Don't presume I need your thanks. I blinked, taken aback by the sudden venom in her voice. What had I done to deserve such animosity? You're nothing to me, land dweller. You think you're special just because our prince brought you to our world? Her eyes blazed with a mix of anger and something else, something I recognized. You're nothing but a human. We don't need you. I have always watched over our small princess. Why would he choose you over me? I stood there, staring at Marina, hardly able to believe this was happening. A real mermaid, jealous? Of me? This surreal situation was just too much to take in. Yet, as bizarre as it was, I understood why Marina felt this way. If Kweku had chosen me over her, it must hurt. You might see me as nothing, but Kweku chose me for a reason, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady despite the hostility in hers. He said his baby needed help. I don't think he would make a mistake with something as serious as his daughter's life. Her eyes narrowed on me, but I pressed on, drawing strength from my trust in Kweku. Maybe I don't understand everything yet, but I know I'm not just a human intruder. I can't be, because I trust Kweku. Don't you? Marina was silent, and she could only stare at me. And for the record, I agreed to this because I want to help the baby. You do a great job with her. She's always happy. I just want to get her shield, and then And your feelings for the prince? She interrupted. My thoughts raced, but I tried to stay calm. If this was going to be a fight over boys, I'd resign right now. One of my personal mantras was never to fight over boys. Until recently, I had no idea Marina even existed. Kweku never mentioned her. All he'd told me was that the baby's mother had died. Confronted with her question and the fact of the matter, the best thing to do was to try and defuse the situation. Kweku said he loves me, I began, my voice wavering as I locked eyes with Marina. But I think you two make a much better match. Marina's eyes flashed with anger, and before I could react, she lunged at me with surprising speed and strength, pulling me deep under the water. Love you? Marina shouted in disbelief, her voice echoing through the water as she dragged me further into the depths. My heart raced, panic setting in as I struggled against her grip, but her strength was overwhelming. You call him by name and talk about his love as if it's trivial. You deserve to drown, she screamed, her eyes blazing with fury. The water swirled around us, and I felt my lungs burn as I struggled for air, unable to break free. Darkness began to creep into my vision as I realized I couldn't fight her off. Just as I was about to succumb, someone grabbed Marina from behind, wrenching her hold off me. I strained to see through the dim light, and my blood ran cold as I recognized Dax. His presence hit me like a jolt, but I had no time to process the shock. With one powerful thrust, he pushed me towards the sea's surface. I broke through the surface, gasping and coughing, each breath a precious lifeline. Dax's powerful, unyielding arms encircled me, pulling me towards the shore, his strength both startling and menacing. My heart pounded with fear. His earlier thoughts of taking me by force echoed in my head, each word a dagger of terror. What was going to happen to me? What was he going to do? I couldn't hope to fight him. My body instinctively wanted to struggle, but I was too weak, my lungs burning from lack of air, nearly drowned. The relentless waves battered me, slapping water into my face and making it impossible to catch my breath or recover any strength. With what little energy I had, I made a futile attempt to fight free, my movements feeble against his solid grip. I felt a cold wave of helplessness wash over, leaving my mind in a whirlwind of terror and desperation. Images of Kweku flashed through my mind, his protective embrace, his reassuring smile. Kweku. I think I managed to call out. I must have blacked out. As I came to, I felt hands softly caressing my face. So beautiful, he murmured, his voice haunting and low. My eyes flew open, startled to find Dax's overpowering presence looming over me. "Don't scream," he whispered, his breath warm against my skin. "Wouldn't want Kweku to hear us, would we?" A devilish smile flashed across his lips, revealing brilliant, perfect white teeth against his dark skin before they vanished. Fear surged through me as I cowered beneath his imposing figure. Encased in his grip, Dax's strength was undeniable. Up close for the first time, I realized the full extent of his otherworldly beauty, despite my terror. He was larger and more formidable than I'd remembered, his muscles gleaming in the moonlight, slippery and wet, rugged and powerful. Intricate black tattoos covered his entire torso, each design enhancing his bare, commanding form. Wild dreadlocks framed his face, a masterpiece of chiseled features, high cheekbones, deep-set brown eyes, and a sharp jawline. His full lips drew my eyes. Fresh from the sea, they were wet, the moonlight making them glisten. I couldn't help but notice how perfectly shaped they were, soft yet defined, like they were meant to be kissed. His lips parted slightly, revealing a hint of his pearly teeth, and I found myself inexplicably captivated by them. "You're making me blush, land dweller," he said, focused on my stare. I flinched at his words, yanked back to the disparity of my situation. My eyes flicked to his, and his grin widened with unhidden amusement. Instinctively, I searched but didn't find the malice of before in his deep brown eyes. Instead, they held an unexpected softness as they remained glued to mine, staring intensely. His regal presence left me breathless, too terrified to move, too spellbound to look away. His eyes left mine, breaking the spell, scanning every inch of me with clear urgency, as if he were trying to memorize every detail before time slipped away. The curve of his devilish smile returned, its unsettling perfection sending a shiver down my spine. Yet, his touch remained tender as he stroked my cheek, his gaze making me feel like something precious, something he needed as much as wanted. "What do you think you're doing?" he growled, his voice a dangerous rumble that sent another shiver down my spine. "I plan to take you, Amma, but the time is not yet right. Try to stay alive in the meantime." He paused, his intense gaze lingering on mine before releasing me and vanishing back into the sea. I lay there, breathless and reeling, the world spinning. I grabbed my throat, shocked to my core by what had just transpired, unable to believe I was still alive. Then it struck me. The seaweed. No! I shot up from the sand, eyes wide and searching, panic surging as I realized I had dropped the seaweed needed for the baby. My heart hammered as I leapt to my feet and dashed back into the water without a second thought, desperately scanning the rolling waves, my hands clawing at the slippery strands tumbling in the surf. Every second felt like an eternity, my actions fueled by sheer desperation. With trembling hands, I snatched up the precious seaweed I could find and sprinted back to the shore, the weight of the baby's need driving me forward. My mind raced as I hurried inside to feed the baby. I shut off the radio and scooped the crying baby from the bathtub, my hands trembling uncontrollably, my nerves frayed. Dax had saved me? The thought echoed in my mind, mingling with the fear and adrenaline coursing through me. "Shh, it's okay," I murmured as I brought her to the bed, sinking to the carpet with her in my arms, the bed as a backrest, my heart pounding. My number one priority was to get the seaweed into her. After my struggle, I had managed to save a few precious bits and could only hope it would be enough.